Hello everyone, this is Jimmy and welcome to episode 35 of Celestial Journey. Last episode we left off making the creative jetpack. So today we're going to put it to use, not by wearing it, but by crafting it into the creative flux capacitor. So this recipe doesn't look too bad, a bunch of basic materials. All the challenges are like right here in the center, I think. Yeah. So all we have here are 4 draconic flux capacitors and a draconic reactor core. These are just, we have to craft them. It takes a fair amount of awakened draconium. I think this is like 4 awakened cores, right, which is like a block each, but whatever. Dragons are easy to kill. And this is an easy recipe. However, it needs chaotic tier fusion injectors. So I think I've already crafted those, and we just have to upgrade them. These also did require, they take a chaotic core each, which takes a chaos shard, which means I had to go kill a couple more chaos dragons. But now that we're fully decked out in this gear, it's not actually a dangerous fight or anything, it's just a tedious one. So, just have to upgrade all of these to the new injectors. And as always, whenever you upgrade injectors, you gotta make sure you turn single item mode back on, or you'll be sorely disappointed when you request something and all the inputs get jammed into the same injector. So that should mean that we can make the core now. Let's see, Draconic Reactor Core. Again, it doesn't really use much material-wise, so it's like, there's a high upfront cost because you have to upgrade your fusion injectors to do it, but besides that, there's not much to see. Alright, here we go. I do believe it takes a ridiculous amount of energy, so this might take a little while. Well, not a ridiculous amount, but, 500 million. The limit really isn't our energy generation. I mean, our energy generation is pretty good. Our storage can hold more than that, but it's our energy transport. At some point, I should probably... screw it. I don't know. This is fast enough. I don't want to go through all the effort of switching to a different energy system, because there's so many places where I run my energy conduits alongside other conduits. I miss packs that have the energy mod that gives you the higher tier energy conduits, like up to stellar alloy, which goes depending on configuration, but potentially into the billions of R if a tick. So, anyways, that's the core. Everything else in here is probably just gathering up resources, right? I already have, as you can see, I already have. Oh, why are these empty? I wonder what drained them. Oh, dude. I suspect this drains... Oh, I see what's happening. My flux capacitors try to charge the creative jetpack, which naturally drains them, because I think this accepts energy. Alright, well, I guess I should avoid keeping the creative jetpack in my inventory. But whatever. I mean, it's only 1.5 billion RF voided. So as I said, aside from the couple draconic items, everything here should be pretty easy to make. So let's craft it into draconic, or the creative flux capacitor. Oopsies, I need 4 fire bases. Knew I was forgetting something. Alright. Cool. So the flux capacitor, I'm kind of curious, Alright, my draconic flux capacitors are smart enough not to try to charge this. I suspect if I turn it on... How do I turn it on? V, charging all items, and then shift... It should even be able to charge my capacitors. Maybe. Maybe not. I don't know how to... Right-click, shift right-click. I think just as a capacitor, it's smart enough not to charge other capacitors to avoid a loop. But anyways, I'm not going to use it for that. As for what we are going to use these for, let's store it for a bit. There's, I think, a fork in the road here. We can either use it to make the Ceremonial Blood Orb, however that takes these creative activation crystals, which we can't make yet. The other road is to make into a creative energy cell, which then turns into a creative reservoir, which then at another fork can be turned into... I think we go capacitor bank into activation crystal. And then we can merge them back together into blood orb. So, given that, we have to head down next and make the creative energy cell. Good news, everything here is very easy, with the exception of the fact that it takes 4 creative flux capacitors. Creative flux capacitors. So everything that we've just, we've just made 1, we now need to make 3 more. Technically, we need to make 4 more too, because the one that we need 1 more to do the infusion. So let's actually craft 4 more of these right now. So we have to go all the way back down the chain, down to the creative storage upgrades again. And we need 8 of these, right? Because it's a 2-to-1 ratio here for the cache. Just out of curiosity, I wonder how far off are we from this? Huge crafting CPU, need more Invar. We need more logic processors, more fused quartz, more creative bookcases. All right, that's not as bad as I thought. I'm going to go put some upgrades on some of these drawers so that they craft more. I could also just make the seed version too, I guess. But the big thing is we have to increase our logic processor production by a lot. We've used 100, we've been producing logic processors for basically the last month plus, right? And we've used basically all of them. So yeah, we're going to need a dedicated system to do that. But for now, I'm just going to, let's grab, I don't know, let's go with 16 times upgrades. And I forget what the ones that needed it. Invar, U, and fused quartz, U. There's only one way to make a lot of processors in this pack, and that's to throw a lot of inscribers at the problem. So I have 16 inscribers here doing silicon, what are they called? Silicon processors, silicon something or another, printed silicon. And then the other, we'll need 16 more to do, the printed calculation thing. And then lastly, we'll need 16 more to put it all together. Setting up this last final inscriber to put everything together really makes me miss the advanced inscriber from 82 Stuffs or whatever the mod was that adds it. So the challenge with these is that the 3 inputs have to come in 3 distinct sides. You can turn these inscribers sideways with the wrench, so that you can, like, the top and bottom become the sides, but that doesn't change the fact that, 3 inputs come from 3 sides. So one, the silicon and the logic processor, one top, one bottom. The redstone can come from either side without a press, and then the output come, any side without a press. So basically, not only that, it's not smart-sided, or it's not like smart filtered. So if I don't put item filters in here, it's willing to, put silicon here and here. It doesn't realize, oh, I've already put silicon in one slot. The other slot has to be a logic processor. And my third complaint about these normal inscribers is it's actually, the way I have it set up now, it actually has pretty low uptime. It spends so much time inserting items because there's only a single item slot. Like, it doesn't buffer a stack like the advanced inscriber does. I could perhaps work around this with a hopper, or with hoppers in general. Hoppers are much faster at feeding items, but hoppers are also very, well, not very, but they're relatively tick time hungry when they're feeding into jammed slots. So I think I'd rather deal with a lower uptime and maybe just set up more inscribers than set up hoppers, because again, tick time is our most valuable resource. Anyways, so for each one of these, I need 3 item filters, which means I have to configure 3 inputs on each, and they're also different, so I can't just copy paste. Well, I have to put the filter in, and then I can copy paste the conduit settings. But anyways, yeah, I've done one. I have to do the others 15. When all said and done, it looks like we're producing logic processors at a pretty hefty clip, maybe 2 a second average. I think we're still producing circuits significantly faster than processors as a result of the, like, circuits have some downtime while it waits for an item insert, but it's significantly less than the processors because these have to wait for 3 item inserts. Oh, maybe it's not significantly less, maybe it's only a little bit less. Either way, I'm thinking if maybe I'll add a couple more inscribers to the processor tower, but for the time being, I don't think I need to optimize such tiny things. This will produce processors until 7,000 stacks, which will hopefully be enough. But in the meantime, let's go back to seeing if we can craft those creative storages. Since we only need we only need 3 at the immediate, or 6, I guess, in the immediate moment. You know, the last 2 are for something else. I'll try to only craft these. And what am I missing? Is that it? Yeah, one more oak creative bookcase. All right. One short trip to Icekeel later to gather more workshop bookcases, and that should do the trick. All right, so give me 6 of these. That'll do. The bottleneck in this crafting process is our upgrading of strong boxes. And for some reason, I think it's because the Annihilation Plane, if it doesn't have work to do, it'll sleep for a pseudo-random amount of time. And during that time, you know, basically the Formation Plane and Mechanical User are way faster than the Annihilation Plane on average. So we have like the finished product sitting there for up to a couple seconds. So instead of using Annihilation Plane, then I'll probably try various ways of detecting when the item gets placed, and after, you know, either on Blind Reckoning, Dead Reckoning, or on, you know, detecting like a block update or something, I'll just pick it up with a block breaker of some sort. There we go, much better. So the system I have here, actually I'm not even sure if it's 100% working, but the blocks are placed the same way. They are, you know, I put speed upgrades in the conversion kit applier just to make sure that it's like super quick. And then what happens is when I detect that the sensor here, it can't actually tell the difference between the 2 types of strong boxes, so it kind of just guesses. What happens is actually it detects any strong box being placed, and it'll emit a redstone signal to a sequencer here, which waits, 7 ticks, and then sends a 1 tick pulse to this mechanical miner here. And it seems like 7 ticks isn't enough. Let's actually double that then. This mechanical miner is set to give a, you know, every redstone pulse, it'll break 1 block. So we can cycle these back, and that timing seems to be right. So within the however many, 1, 2, 3, 7 times 2, within the 14 ticks that I'm waiting for, that basically the sequencer forces the mechanical miner to wait, it looks like where the mechanical user will always be able to place a new strong box and upgrade it in that time. So yeah, this is a much faster system than what we had before. And while it's probably still the bottleneck in the crafting process, it's not the bottleneck by quite as much. One minor update, I changed it from the RF Tools sensor to a Andreal block detector because I want this system to work for multiple different block types. The sensor, if I place it back down, I can show you the UI. It doesn't, if I leave this blank, it won't detect anything. So I can't have it detect both strong boxes and portable tanks. So the block detector, on the other hand, just detects if there's a block on top of it. And for some reason, it's inverted from what I would expect. I guess it's like, no, it's not even like a pressure plate. Basically, when there's no block, it has a signal. And when there is a block, it doesn't have a signal. So anyways, I just invert the signal again and send it to our sequencer. While we still can't quite do full auto crafting of these items yet, because we don't have the extreme crafting table, why don't I set up a system that at least gathers all these subcomponents for me and dumps them into an inventory, so that I don't have to search for like 10 different items to craft. However, that creates a second problem. These use more than 9 unique inputs, or in the case where they don't use more than 9 unique inputs, like the caches don't stack, so I can't encode the recipe in here. There's only 9 slots. Enter our friend Packaged Auto. This is a way that we can automatically turn items, up to 9 items, into an item package. Now, this behavior can be done with that one, not quite, but you can get around the 9 items per recipe limitation using just native applied logistics, but Package Auto makes it a lot easier. So the easiest way to use it is to make a package recipe encoder. This, I believe, can go anywhere. It doesn't actually have to go on your ME network. Let me confirm. I don't actually think it even connects to... Does that connect? Yeah, I don't even think it connects to your ME network, whereas the other components do gain from being connected. So this can go anywhere. I'm just going to put it here. The UI for this is perhaps a bit much, but we'll make it make sense. First, you put a number of recipe package holders in here. These are effectively the patterns, and they have a suitable crafting recipe for it. So these are, use these in place of AE2 patterns. Then, we don't have package apparition. All right, well, there's only one crafting type then, and that's processing, which is fine. We'll leave it there. The good news is you can import the recipe. Oopsies. Import the recipe. And it does the magic for you. You don't have to click anything in. Click save. It'll save it into the package recipe holder. In fact, I actually meant to only put 2 in here. Maybe even only 1. Anyways, save. I like to keep a backup at all times just in case you lose this item somehow. So I'll save a backup. Anyways, what this says is that to craft all these items into this, first it'll craft 3 sub packages. So first it'll take the items in that list and turn it into a package. Then they'll take the items in that list and turn it into a package. Then it'll do it one more time with those items. So in order for it to make packages, it needs a packager. Now the packager must be on the AE network. So let's put this here. It connects directly to the to your network, and if you put a recipe encoder in there, can I empty these by chance? Yeah, there we go. If you put a recipe holder in there, what you'll see is that now these recipes are automatically added to your ME network. So I can just go and say, hey, make me one of these, and it'll do so. One way to use these packages then is to manually encode the output. So you say, a index 0, 1, and 2 together make the creative cache. Now I know the pack's been updated that this item's been replaced with the creative key or something. I'm not updating at the moment anyways because there's a pretty nasty crash bug in one of the mods that makes it difficult to go to the end. Anyways, then what you do is you take a ME interface, you put your pattern in that interface as usual. You probably want to wrench the interface to point in one specific direction, and you put a unpackager just past the interface. The unpackager needs power apparently, but you make sure to not put a recipe thingy in the unpackager. Then what will happen is when you go to request the item, these 3 recipe packages, will get delivered into this unpackager, which will turn them back into the normal items. And then if you just put, like a chest or whatever above it, it'll dump the unpacked items into here. So let me go and run some power to this unpackager, and we'll test that out. All right, there's power running underneath down there. So now if I request a cache, it should see, I already pre-crafted these packages. So the first time it just sends the packages to here, which sends them to here where they have already been unpacked into all the items. And in fact, if I get an extreme crafting table and extract, it's definitely not how you spell extreme. This should be all the components for a creative cache. Now there's a second way you can use it too, or a second way you can do your recipes, and I'll show it to you just for demonstration value, although I don't intend on using it because I think it's less flexible, although it is slightly easier to set up. So instead of putting your recipe in a instead of putting a recipe in a ME interface, if you just put it directly into a packager. So in order for this, why does it have power? Whatever. In order for that, or how do I put this? Instead of putting a ME pattern into talking and thinking. So instead of encoding the pattern as a planetaristics pattern, you encode it as a package auto pattern. You put that pattern into the unpackager. We'll take this out just so that we're not doubling up on the pattern. We can cancel this crafting job, and we should see that the item is still here. What happens is the unpackager will register the recipes in its package holder directly to the ME network, the same way the packager registers its package sub recipes. And then when you request one of these, the items just come out of the unpackager all the same. The reason I don't use this setup often is because it's a little bit less flexible, especially when you want to do parallel crafting. So how did I clear this again? One advantage of this this setup like this, with the pattern here, is that I can do parallel crafting of things like alloys. So if we do, I don't know, dark solarium for some reason, right? Say I was crafting dark solarium on demand. Right now I'm not. I'm crafting it passively, but say I wanted to make this an on-demand craft, but I also wanted to make it fast because it takes a long time to make. Well, if I just have, a single ME interface dumping items into a chest of some sort, with or without blocking mode, and then I distribute those items to alloy smelters, what'll happen is we'll have dark steel go to one alloy smelter and solarium go to another, and the crystal go to a different one maybe, and none of it will actually get crafted. It'll all get jammed up. However, what we could do is set up a recipe. I'll even make that recipe just for kicks and giggles. Set up this recipe, and what'll happen is we can then, our sub recipe will be one recipe package makes one dark solarium ingot, right? So I can take this, put this in our packager in place of that one. We should now see that there's a package for dark solarium ingot. Now when I request, say I wanted 10 ingots for some reason, right? I get 10 of these recipe packages, and now I can distribute these evenly between alloy smelters. So in here, the recipe will look like this. One of these. Let's import that. Alright, so one recipe package makes one dark solarium ingot. Encode this recipe, put it in our ME interface. In this case, I want an interface that is not pointing directly at an unpackager, but I want an interface pointing at, say, a chest. So I want to point up. There we go. I would put a chest up here. Right, and then from the chest, if I were to request these dark solarium ingots, what'll happen is, I have all the packages on me. Anyways, the packages get delivered here, and then I can safely round robin these into alloy smelters. Well, into a number of unpackagers, and you have each unpackager feed a single alloy smelter. This way, we can do parallel item processing of items that take multiple inputs. It's a trick I haven't really used this mod pack because I rely so heavily on background crafting, but it's something that in most mod packs is a very nifty trick to have access to, and package auto is one of the easiest ways to do it. It's essentially, it lets you transport multiple items atomically as a single item, right? Because no matter what you do, you can't split up this recipe package. It's a single item. Another neat thing that unpackagers have is they do have blocking mode, just like interfaces do. So that way, when I request the craft, I won't get whoops, I can cancel that. I'll get exactly one set of items in the chest, right? As opposed to having for recipes like this with a bunch of items that don't stack, it won't jam the multiple crafts together, so I don't have to sort them out. And finally, once I request the craft, all I have to do is come here, pick up all the items. Hopefully I have room in my inventory. 1 slot short. Alright, let's get rid of you. Get all the items, come here, craft one, drop it off in the AE system, and do it again. And that should make our 3 creative caches. Neat. It feels really nice to just be able to go auto-crafting creative items like this. And start. And the only manual step in the process is to move items from one chest to a crafting table and back. For some reason I can't craft the creative jetpack right now. I was able to craft it last episode, so I wonder different. I'm gonna check the video and see what's if there's like maybe I charged the jet plates previously. Well, last episode I did use charge plates, so I charged these up again. That didn't do it. The only other thing I think I did differently was I had previously used the creative Flux pack by throwing it in here, which may have given it an extra MBT tag. Let's see. Do I? Yeah, the one I haven't touched yet doesn't have an MBT tag. So maybe that's the difference? Indeed, that's what it is. All right. Well, I guess you just need to use it once or something to get the MBT tag. And then you can craft the creative jetpack and, as usual, get your trophy iron thruster. Just to test my theory that it is indeed the MBT tag on the Flux pack. See, no crafting now. The Flux pack out. Dump it in here. No, you don't want it anymore? It's the same dynamo, I just moved it. Ah. Wait, I didn't even put it in there. It didn't gain a... Alright, now I'm confused. Look, it works. I'm not going to complain. Cool. So, I didn't mark the craft as complete. What's different about these? Rainbow smoke. Why do I get rainbow smoke? Oh, I think when you craft the creative jetpack, you get a... Wait, why does this... I think the one you get, does it always have rainbow smoke? But why do these not? You know what? Forget it. I'm not going to think too hard about this. Anyways, creative jetpack done. Next step is to upgrade it into flux capacitors. So it's going to take a lot of awakened draconium, but again, shouldn't be, besides that, shouldn't be anything too spectacular. Because I now have different creative jetpacks here, I'm just going to exclude the jetpack from the recipe for this. So that when I craft it, it doesn't, it's like, well, I can't find the right jetpack. Well, yeah, I'm going to exclude the jetpack, and then just when I go to craft it, I need to make sure, that I manually actually include a jetpack in the crafting. So I just have to set up one more thing, and we can basically auto-craft with a little bit of manual work along the way, our way all the way up to the creative flux capacitors. Materials for flux capacitor number 2. If everything works out. Number 3. And probably number 4. And 4. Alright, so I used one of them briefly, right? So it has like different MBT data from the others. But whatever. I'm sure these can all be used going forward in crafting. It'll just make it difficult to register them in auto crafting. So the next step, the creative energy cell takes these blocks of night metal. Everything else here I have or can easily craft. Right? This is, we've already got our Lord Vaticus locked up in a Bob imprisonment tool. But we need blocks of night metal. This requires getting these armored shard clusters or the seeds. But to get the seed, we need night metal blocks to begin with. So that requires a trip to the Twilight Forest to, farm some of those nights. However, I think we're, at least I'm out of time today. So why don't we pick up from there tomorrow, and we'll continue down our creative journey. But today we went from 0, or did we have one already? No, I think we went from 0, right? Yeah, we went from 0 creative flux capacitors up to 4. And that's all off the power of robust infrastructure. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope to see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.